podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. Now, before we get into the show, I want to ask you a favor. It's time for our TWiT audience survey. We do this once a year to get to know you better. It helps us decide what shows to do, what content to do, but also it helps us sell advertising, I'll be frank, because we don't want to collect information about you. We want to make this completely voluntary. So, if it's completely anonymous, if you would, just take about 5 minutes, go to twit.tv/survey21. You don't have to answer every question. Answer whatever questions you know the answer to. If there's not all the options you wish there were, don't worry about it. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just we want to get a general idea of who's listening and what they like. twit.tv/survey21. Thank you. Now, this show was originally broadcast on the Premier Networks on Saturday, January 9th, 2021. This is episode 1760. Enjoy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. We got your smartphones, we got your smart watches, we got all that jazz. Yeah, all the little gizmos, gadgets, G-Jaws, or is it Gigaws? I don't know. Is it GIF or GIF? I don't know. That's one of the mysteries of life. But whatever it is, we talk about it. 8888 Ask Leo is my phone number if you want to join the conversation. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada, outside that area. You can still reach me, but you probably have to use Skype to do it. But that's okay, right? That's okay. We don't mind. It shouldn't cost you anything, and that's the beauty of it. Anywhere in the world. We get callers from all over the world. That's kind of fun. Thanks to podcasting and streaming and all that. 888-827-5536. Website, if you hear something on the show and you go, I should write that down. No, you don't have to. I know you're busy. You got other things to do. That's why we have a professional scribe writing everything down, Mr. James DeRuvo, and he puts that up at the website, techguylabs.com. And here's the beauty part. It'll cost you nothing. It'll cost you nothing. All you got to do is wander in. You don't have to sign up or anything. techguylabs.com. Let's see. What should we talk about? There's so many things, and yet I kind of want to stay in the little walled garden, our little toy store here, that is free from the pressures, strains, and, frankly, upsets of the general outside world. We'll pretend everything's going great. Did you see Elon Musk is now the richest man in the world? He started the year not even like close. I suppose he was in the top 10, so that's close enough. But thanks to the run-up on Tesla stock, which is I find fascinating, the stock market, which for years kind of shorted the stock, and there were a lot of people saying, it's overblown, and all of a sudden, boom, the stock has just gone through the roof. And Elon Musk is now actually richer than Jeff Bezos. Yeah, I don't even know. It's like $179 billion. It's some crazy amount of money. It's just crazy. Maybe that explains why there's strong rumors now that Apple wants to do its own electric car. What? Yeah. This rumor has come and gone over the last few years, and yet it's stronger than ever. We knew that Apple hired a lot of people to do something around automobiles, because they even had a place in Sunnyvale, and the neighbors were complaining. This was a few years ago, because there was clanking coming from late at night from this kind of mini factory in Sunnyvale, which is just down the road from Apple's campus. That shut down. That didn't continue. And in fact, we thought that a number of the people who were hired to run the Apple car business had moved on. But yet, Now, rumors from all over that Apple's getting in the car business, a self-driving electric car. Now, what the funny thing is, the first rumor said 2020, I think 3, and then it was 2024, and then it was 2025, and then more rumors 2026. It is now at least 2028. According to Bloomberg, Mark Gurman, who's pretty well connected on all this week, Mark wrote, Apple will take at least half a decade. Well, that's 2025. That's not so far. To launch an autonomous electric vehicle because development work is still at an early stage, according to people with knowledge of the efforts. That's always who it is. People with... Now, Mark has some very good leakers inside of Apple, so he's almost always right on this stuff. Thing to remember is all these companies are always developing all kinds of stuff. Doesn't mean it'll ever make it to market. It's Apple's got enough money, big enough R&D budget to try some stuff. Strong rumors that Apple might do augmented reality glasses this year. That we're getting close to some sort of glasses from Apple that you wear, and I don't know if they'd be Siri inside, or that's not a very attractive prospect. I don't know if that's going to sell them. This year is kind of the base model, and then they, according to, again, people with knowledge of the matter, not me, I don't know anything, but people with knowledge of the matter say next year, that's going to be, you're going to want that. Okay. You know, here's the problem for Apple. You have this massively successful product, which is now 13 years old, the iPhone, which drives more than half of all their revenue, is hugely profitable. And, you know, the stock market, stakeholders, even the executives, employees, they're all saying, well, how do you follow that out? You know, what's the next big thing? You can't just rest on your laurels in Silicon Valley. You need to know what's next. Where are you going next? So Apple's trying stuff. You know, the watch was a sleeper. The Apple Watch took a while. It was a sleeper. But now, at first they threw a lot of spaghetti against the wall, and they thought, well, it'll be, all kinds of different things. Notifications, it'll be a sidecar for your phone, you can play music, take pictures, but it was really health that took off with the Apple Watch. Fitness activities, monitoring your heart rate, now they do things like monitoring your blood oxygen and and all sorts of stuff. And that's taken off. People love that. So Apple, they're no fools. They go, okay, it's a health device. That's what happens. You throw stuff against the wall and you see what sticks, and then maybe you modify it. I have to think, though, that Apple's looking over at Elon going, he's the richest man in the world? What do you think? Do you think some of that is Tesla, but that some of it is also SpaceX? SpaceX, which is Elon's other company, he has several. He also has the Boring Company, that's Elon's sense of humor, because it is kind of boring. What they do is they bore holes underground for subways. So he's got other companies, but it's the SpaceX that I wouldn't be surprised if the stock, except you're not investing. You're investing in Tesla. So I don't know. But I think people must be looking at him thinking, you know what? He's going to Mars. Tomorrow, in all likelihood, they'll be doing another test of the SpaceX Starship. Elon is nothing if not a good marketer. The SN9 is on deck to boldly follow where no rocket has gone before. It's even got fins on it. I love it. On the top and everything, it's very cool looking. It may be that they've been doing static fire tests, but they may actually it may actually go up in the air tomorrow. We shall see. We shall see. Remember it blew up? Do you remember that one? But they said that landing where, it went up and then it came down and then it blew up was a huge success because they weren't interested in the end of the flight. It was the beginning that made all the news. I have to think that some of the stock market's response to Tesla is just like, this guy is like Thomas Edison or something. We'll see. We'll see. He's going to Mars. we'll talk about it tomorrow. We have a new segment on the show with our space guy, Rod Pyle, who's great. We could talk about that a little bit tomorrow. Let's see. I'm skipping a bunch of stories I don't want to talk about. It's just too depressing. I don't want to move. I don't want to talk about that. Nope. Don't want to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about that. On Thursday, the creation of a new office at the State Department to address cybersecurity and emerging technologies. Yeah, maybe because everybody was hacked. The Bureau of Cyberspace Security and Emerging Technologies, CSET. But it's more about diplomacy. This is the press release said. The need to reorganize and resource America's... that's not a verb, but okay. The need to reorganize and resource America's cyberspace and emerging technology security diplomacy through the creation of CSET as critical as the challenges to U.S. national security posed by China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and other cyber and emerging technology competitors and adversaries have only increased. Yes. No, that's true. That's true. We're still kind of reeling from the aftermath of the SolarWinds hack, the Russia hack that got into everything, like cockroaches everywhere. Let's see. You can now watch HBO Max on your Fire TV. Good news. Although, I don't know, the deal was apparently Amazon was saying, no, you can't. And then Time Warner, which owns HBO Max, Warner Media, AT&T, agreed to extend its deal with Amazon's cloud service. And according to the information, and Amazon said, okay, now you can be on the Fire Stick. That sounds like blackmail to me. I guess it's not illegal. Next week, the Consumer Electronics Show begins. You'll forgive me if I don't jump up and down. Nobody's going to Las Vegas this year. We went last year. It was kind of the last thing before the quarantine began. Nobody will be going this year. It's dangerous. Everybody gets sick at CES anyway. It's amazing that wasn't the vector for coronavirus in the United States and all around the world. All these people, 180,000 people from all over the world gathering in one small space in Las Vegas. That's a recipe for disaster. We dodged a bullet there. Anyway, this year it's all going to be on Zoom. You go, oh boy, I'm skipping it. I'm not registering. You'll be able to read everything if you care. Why even bother? If you're one of those companies, why even just do your own thing, man. Do your own thing. 8888 Ask Leo. That's all the tech news I have. That's it. I'm ready to take your calls. 888-827-5536. That's toll free. Kim Schaffer's ready for you. Caller, get on the phone here. We'll start taking the calls in just a little bit. Scott Wilkinson, Home Theater Gurus, coming up. Johnny Jett, our travel guy. Dick DeBartolo, our gizmo wizard. It's going to be a jam-packed day of fun and tech. Can't wait. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a miracle. She keeps showing up, the unbreakable Kimmy Schaffer. Kimmy, don't take no Schaffer. Hello, Kimmy.
Hello.
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 How are you?
Good.
I might start talking like that. I've been watching a lot of Britbox lately.
Oh, yeah. I started a new British series this week
Yes.
myself.
We were watching Upstairs, Downstairs.
Oh, I was watching Bridgerton.
Bridgerton is weird.
It's weird, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It takes your mind off of the world. So.
It feels like it's all CGI, like it's just people in front of a green screen the whole time.
That's true. It probably
I think it is. I think it is. But that's the new way. Did you see that? I don't know. Have you ever watched The Mandalorian?
No.
I haven't either, but it's very popular. It's a Star Wars franchise. But it's shot not on green screen, but on virtual screens. Big Sony displays that are kind of tied to the camera. So as the camera moves, the displays move. And so all of that stuff, it's easier for the actors because they can see it. They're on a set that has a background.
So whatever's happening is actually happening behind them, and they can see that, as opposed to having to pretend like a weatherman.
Yeah, looking at a green tennis ball, saying, "Gollum, come here." So, and Sony's now starting to sell that, so you're going to see more and more of that. It's very interesting. Yeah,
that's cool. Expensive,
anyway,
I'm sure.
So, who should I start with?
Let's go with Chris in Rhode Island.
Oh, I love Rhode Island. My family's there, as you know. Hello, Chris. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Thank you, Kim.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. It's chilly, but sunny here.
Yeah, nice. It's chilly but sunny here, but our idea of chilly is probably a little different than your idea.
Send Mom a blanket.
Oh, poor Mom. I tell you. But you know what's great? Mom is well equipped. I sent her an Apple TV for her birthday, an Apple Watch, and an iPhone, and she just bundles up, and she can do she's 88, but she's doing the Fitness Plus thing, which is awesome. It's awesome. She's going to be in better shape than I am. Anyway, what can I do for you?
2 questions. The first one's for me.
Okay.
I am a avid Android user after your conversation about Apple.
Yes.
And I've been using the Note 12.1 for years now. I use it daily. And it's a cellular tablet, and I want to go, I'm an AT&T customer, and they don't seem to want to make the S7 tab for AT&T.
Yeah.
In the 8 gig, which if you're going to have a cellular tab, you want all the RAM you can.
Yep.
And what do you think of the Korean ones?
Well, I mean, of course, the Galaxy Tab is Korean. Samsung's a Korean company, but
the unlocked ones you see on.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'd be careful because. So you're saying Samsung, because they ship in all different areas. They have Middle East, Europe, they have APAC, they have Korea, they have the North America, and they put the cellular ones. They put different radios in depending on the location. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking cellular, that's something to watch out for. Other than that, those tablets are fine. They're probably using an Exynos processor, Samsung's own processor, instead of the Qualcomm, and some people like that better. Boy, these tabs are very affordable now. I mean, they start under $200. If you want one that's loaded, it'd be a little more. But boy, they're amazing, these S7s, and I'm hearing good things about them. You don't have to get it from AT&T, I guess, is the point.
Well, you can't. You can't get.
Yeah, you don't have to though. You could get it from anybody as long as it's go to Best Buy, as long as it supports a SIM card. It's cellular. You put your AT&T SIM in it, it'll work. Just because they don't sell it doesn't mean it won't work.
So like the ones that are for Verizon will work?
Not necessarily Verizon. I would go to somewhere and get it that it doesn't attach to a carrier, because you don't want a carrier locked one. But Best Buy will probably sell one.
I haven't seen it, but I'll keep looking.
Look around, or maybe your big box store. As long as it has LTE built into it, you can put a SIM in there from anybody. I use Google's Fi SIMs in my iPads. But you don't want to get it from a carrier, because a carrier is likely to lock it. That's how. Then they give you this big subsidy. The thing is, with the S7, you don't really need a subsidy. The price is really aggressive. $149 for the 128 gig S7. Oh, with trade-in. Never mind. I take that. Of course, you've got one to trade in, don't you? 8888 Ask Leo. Scott Wilkinson coming up next. It's time for our man in the theater, Scott Wilkinson. He's got 2 on the aisle. It's the home theater geek. No, everybody does nowadays with big screen TVs and surround sound. He's a contributor at TechHive.com, joins us every week to talk about home theater. And, of course, CES is all about home theater. Technically doesn't start till when does it start technically? Monday. There's nothing on Sunday.
But there's been a ton of stuff already this week.
Yeah. So really, the CES news begins now. So what's new? So tell me. I mean, we're going to see. I predict a lot of this new micro LED technology. We saw it last year. It's beautiful.
We did.
And then mini LED, which is actually starting to appear on the market. Apple's rumored they're going to be starting to use that on their computers and tablets. And there are mini LED TVs. This is just another LCD technology, right?
It's another LCD technology with the backlight, the illumination source, being a series of LEDs behind the screen, which we've had for years. But now the LEDs are much smaller. And so there are many more of them. Instead of hundreds or thousands behind the screen, there are now tens of thousands.
Yeah.
Which basically means that there's much more precise control of which parts of the screen get bright and which parts get dark, which increases the perceived contrast, which is really, one of the most important parts of picture quality. And up till now, TCL has been kind of the leader in that space of mini LED. They've had a mini LED TV for a couple of years now. This year, CES is going to be, in terms of TVs, is going to be the year of mini LED. Because as I mentioned last week, LG has announced a mini LED version of their QLED TV, which they're now calling QNED.
I like QNED better. QNED is so good. Yeah.
Yes,
so weird.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Samsung just announced their Neo QLED, which is their version of mini LED.
So do these really look a lot better? Have you seen them?
Oh yeah. Definitely.
They're not quite to OLED, but they're better. The best.
No.
They're the best an LCD can be.
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct. Interestingly, Sony announced all their new TVs already as well, and they did not announce any mini LED. So they're a little behind the curve. Yeah. I was quite surprised at that. Now, they did announce a couple of new OLEDs, one of which is, in fact, brighter than just about anything else. That's one of the main drawbacks of OLED, is that it's not as bright as LCD or LED backlit TVs. And they've announced one now that is brighter. They didn't give any specs, nor did anybody give any pricing. So I want you to make sure to understand that I can't say how much these TVs are going to be, but that rarely happens at CES. They just announce a new model, and then sometime in the spring we'll know how much they're going to cost. But in any event,
will they be
Sony
really expensive, you think?
Oh, these high-end ones, sure.
But the technology itself is it an expensive technology? Is there a...
Well, mini LED isn't, I don't think, particularly expensive. Micro LED, that is,
those are
direct
expensive.
view LED, that's expensive.
Yeah.
Because you have to be perfect. Because the LEDs are actually the source of the color. You watch the LEDs directly. They are what are emitting the light that you see as the color picture. And they're so microscopic that it's the manufacturing process is pretty complex, and it has to be perfect. There can't be one out of place.
One bad dot ruins it all.
One bad dot, and that's it. They have to throw away the whole panel.
Although, even with LCDs, companies seem to have a policy of, well, if they're not, there's no more than 3 and they're not contiguous, we're going to say that's okay. Will they do that, you think, with micro LED, or is it so expensive?
It's so expensive, they better not.
They better not. It's awful when you have the big white dot in the middle. I mean, you can see it, even though it's tiny. You know it's there, and you look for it.
Because it's bright.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Samsung, as I think I mentioned on a previous show, is now selling the 110-inch version of their micro LED in Korea, they're selling it, and it's the equivalent of $156,000.
We call that the NBA player discount.
Exactly. Sony announced 2 new versions of its micro LED called Crystal LED, which you can probably, if you have enough money, you can buy anything. But these are mostly geared toward professional applications and virtual backgrounds. You were mentioning that earlier. The Mandalorian is famous for using, I'm pretty sure it's a Sony, as a background generator. And it works pretty good. I have been watching The Mandalorian, and I kind of like it, actually, as a show.
You can't tell that's... I mean, it would just be like a green screen. The difference is the actors see it, which I think is helpful to them. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly right. One thing I want to make sure I mention, one thing Sony announced, which is kind of interesting, is their own streaming service called Bravia Core. which
Everybody's
is in
getting
collaboration
in
with
this.
Sony.
Everybody's getting in the streaming business now.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. The thing about Bravia Core is they are claiming UHD Blu-ray equivalent quality of 4K HDR streams at, get this, 80 megabits per second, which is twice what Apple TV Plus does at 40. And I think you might have mentioned, certainly we know now that Netflix has cut their bit rate down to maybe 17 for 4K HDR, and it's variable, so it could be much less than that depending on what the content is. So Sony's going in the other direction. They're saying, well, if you've got the bandwidth, we're going to give you, a fire hose into your house.
Well, that makes sense. They invented Blu-ray. They've always been on the forefront of the top highest quality. Could they get to 8K, do you think, on that fire hose?
They could. They could, possibly. At 80 megabits per second, that would be tough 8K.
You'd have to have more than that.
But you'd have to have more than that, and you'd have to have even more efficient compression, data compression, and which is coming. I mean, that's one reason Netflix could, in fact, cut their bit rate, is they have better compression.
Yeah.
And so they're claiming that they're not losing any quality by cutting the bit rate.
Sony's claiming that they're IMAX enhanced. Does that mean, what does that mean, IMAX enhanced? Could I get
IMAX enhanced?
If I got a giant screen, could I have an IMAX in my house?
You could, but it's even available in smaller screens. Basically, what it means is that an IMAX enhanced title that streams to you, and there are Ultra HD Blu-rays that have that as well, follows certain conventions, they have certain requirements for quality and for aspect ratio. IMAX theaters, true IMAX theaters have a taller aspect ratio, and the TV has to be able to automatically switch between them. And
of course, Sony's will do this.
Sony's will do this, yes.
Yeah.
And the Bravia Core, by the way, this streaming service, which does support IMAX Enhanced as well as Sony Pictures TV titles,
does it require a Sony television to use it?
It does, yes. It requires one of these new Sony
you have to
TVs
have a Bravia.
that were announced.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. A Bravia XR, which is their new high-end
and what technology is that using? Is that an OLED?
They have OLEDs and LCDs.
Okay.
Both.
Sony's OLEDs are pretty nice. I mean, we talk about LGs all the time.
Really nice.
But Sony's wouldn't be bad, and this might be a way.
Oh, not at all.
This might be an excuse. Scott Wilkinson, he's our official home theater geek. You can see why we call him that. He'll be covering CES next week. More from the Consumer Electronics Show, Scott?
Undoubtedly.
All right, and you can read his stuff at techhive.com. Thank you, Scott. More of your calls coming up. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Interesting. So that's an interesting tack on streaming, where you say this for our TVs only. Yeah.
For our TVs only, you get better quality than any other streaming service.
Yeah. Do you we're going to have to wait. The jury's still out on if that's true. I mean, that's a claim, but is it? I mean, is
it true?
Do we know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, certainly the higher the bandwidth, the higher the bit rate. Generally speaking, the better the quality.
A lot of people now have, I have gigabit. I think more and more people have gigabit, which means we've got the bandwidth to do something like that. Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
You have gigabit
idea.
Coming into your house?
Yeah.
With fiber?
No, actually, it's from Comcast. Comcast claims with cable that they can go to 2 gigabits. So I think fiber pushed a lot of these guys to beef up their systems. Yeah, I'm getting almost... it's pretty consistently 900 megabits a second. So,
wow.
Yeah, and I don't think that's that unusual. So I think more and more they're going to be able to say that.
Yeah.
Certainly 100 megabits is pretty common.
I'm at 200 right now.
That's pretty common.
So 880 is going to be no problem.
Right, easy peasy. Yeah. All yours. You got 3 minutes.
Why, thank you so very much. 3 minutes. Hey, everybody. So nice to see you all. Yes, Mike B. Gigabit down only. I doubt, Leo, you have gigabit up.
Oh, it's 40 up.
It's 40 up, yeah. Mike B has 900 up and down symmetric.
Yeah, he's got fiber, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. My friend Mike Klein, Mike Mann in the chat room if he's here, also has fiber to his house. I don't even have fiber in my neighborhood, so I can't get it. And I'm kind of bummed about that.
You should call your cable company because they've always had this capability. They just, I remember somebody at, I think it was Time Warner saying, "Oh, nobody wants gigabit."
It's like when somebody in the chat room said they got a Commodore 64. Ooh, 64 kilobits of RAM. What are you going to do with all that?
Yeah.
Or I remember so clearly when the IBM PC first came out, maximum RAM was 640 kilobits. Who would ever use that much RAM?
Right.
They'll never need that much. So anyway, yeah, Mike B, I guess, got the new Commodore 64. I'm not a gamer, and nor am I do I have any fondness or recollection of gaming, so it doesn't matter to me. Dr. Mom Grandma, did you see the Spectrum pulled the Roku app? No, I didn't see that. I did not see that. Beatmaster, excited about Sony's 360 reality audio? Yes, I've actually used that on headphones, and it's really good. I like it a lot. It has to the content has to be encoded with it. It's not a post-processing thing, so that makes it a little harder to be excited about because the artist has to consciously do that in the mixing and mastering process. But they do have speakers as well. You're right. I just saw your link there now. They do have speakers as well that do 360 reality audio. I haven't tried that yet. I've only tried it on headphones.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask. Leo, Brian in Nashville, Tennessee. He's our next caller. Hello, Brian.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm hanging in like a hair in a biscuit.
Oh, crud. I did it again. I got to remember, Brian in Nashville. Don't ask him how he's doing. Don't ask him how he's doing.
It's just getting too easy.
What can I do for you today, Brian?
Well, I decided to bite the bullet. I ordered I use a Mac Mini at my house.
Okay.
I work from home in IT, if you remember.
Yep.
And guess which one I got?
Well, I hope you got the new one.
Yeah, I got the M1.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, but I have to use Parallels, so the only reason... Yeah, well, here's the key. The only reason I finally said I'll bite the bullet, I have dual monitors, so I'll keep the current one I'm using where it's at, and I'll put the M1 on top of it, and I'll plug the new one in. But Parallels came out with a beta.
Yes.
For working in Parallels.
Finally,
so.
yeah. Both VMware and Parallels have said we're going to work with the M1 Mac. The part of the problem is I think you have to use, I don't know, do you have to use Windows for ARM or can you use the Intel Windows with that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's part of why I'm calling. Anyway, also got the 13-inch laptop. I figured I'd bite the bullet there, too.
Oh, wow. You went all in.
Yes, I went all in. Got a new job, a little extra money.
Nice.
Anyway.
Oh, I think you're going to be very happy. Although, I should warn people that, Apple, this is the very first Apple Silicon devices. There are going to be many more, I believe, this year. And some of them may even have an even newer chip, even faster chip. But, my guess is because Apple's...
You're always in that boat.
But you're always in that boat. And Apple has been doing this on the iPhone every year. They rev the chip. So I think we're going to see a yearly cadence for Apple, M1, M2, or maybe they'll do M1X and then M2, M2X, then M3, that kind of thing. That's kind of what they've been doing for the iPad and iPhone. But there are a couple of things they need to do. One is they need to make more RAM available. Right now, all the current M1s only go to 16 gigs. That's a problem. They also need more than 2 channels for Thunderbolt. Right now, they only have 2, that's why you only have 2 ports. And on a Mini, that's a big deal because the Mini, your old Mini has all these ports on the back. and your new one doesn't really. So, I think that we're going to see some nice improvements over the next year on that side of the Apple Silicon equation. Parallel desktop. I just want to see.
That 16 mega memory was that was the.
That's a limit. That's a limit. Yeah,
making me want to. You know what? A little bit more money, and I could have gotten up to 64 with a 16-inch.
Yeah, but you'd be getting an Intel one. And I have to say, I don't think at this point it would be wise to buy any more Intel Macs unless you had to have something like Boot Camp, or you had to run something that only ran on Intel. Yeah, I'm looking at Parallels, and I'm trying to see if it uses the Intel version of Windows or if it has to have the ARM version of Windows. I guess, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't really matter. Certainly the ARM one would probably be faster because it would be less of a translation layer.
Well, I'm again, that's part of why I called. I didn't know if you knew some big gotchas because I've got to slowly migrate over, and I've got to have Office on it. I've got to have, of course, most of the other apps are actual Apple apps, but that Apple made. But
yeah, I've been using my
Office being an issue.
Nope, Office isn't. Microsoft already has a M1 compatible Office. I think. I
have to install a different version then.
In some, so this is one of the things that happens. There's, and can be a little bit confusing because Intel versions of many programs, including Office, will work under Rosetta 2, but in general, you'd want to get the Apple Silicon version of whatever you're using. In some cases, like with Adobe, you have to specifically say, I want the beta Apple Silicon version. I'm trying to remember with Office if it's smart enough to see because they can check on the installer, can check and say, oh, yeah, let's install that. And I don't remember if it does or not. But you probably want to, and that's going to be app by app because different apps handle it differently. So you probably want to check. I often run Activity Monitor, which is the program that comes with all Macintoshes. It has a new column saying which architecture it's running in. So I always check when I install a new program to see if it's Intel or Apple. And, I don't think there's too much of a penalty running Rosetta. Apple's done a pretty good job of that. But if you could run everything Apple, I think you'd be better off. So what happened I'm looking now, and what happened with Office is they made a universal app. So this is one of the options available to developers. It's certainly when Apple switched to Intel, this is what happened. I would guess this is what's going to happen for the next year or two. Companies will offer universal apps, which will have dual binaries, one for Intel and one for Apple Silicon. And when it sees the Apple Silicon, it'll run the Apple Silicon version. So that's how Microsoft's doing it. They're universal apps that will run on both. And they'll be smart enough to use both. Now, there are a few limitations. Teams is not yet running native. But it does run. It just runs as an Intel.
Oh, okay.
And I think you'll find with Rosetta, which is the technology Apple's doing, that you don't see, I don't think you see a performance hit. It runs pretty well.
Have you done anything on the M1 yet? Do you notice any? A friend of mine saying it's huge. He's saying
it is huge. It's absolutely huge. That's why I wouldn't really recommend getting an Intel Mac unless you had to at this point. Just open Safari and go to a website and see how much faster it loads. Apple has optimized the processor to run JavaScript faster than anything else that's out there. There are some things. It isn't as fast as, say, the i9 in a 16-inch MacBook Pro or an iMac Pro, the 10-core Xeon. But in many cases, it's faster. And that can, that's like a shock because these are the low-end. What's Apple's selling right now is the low-end Mini, the low-end MacBook Pro, the low-end MacBook Air. These are their lower-end devices. It just shows that, as I said, when we get to faster and more powerful versions of this processor, it's just going to blow. I think it's going to blow the lid off of anything Intel can do. Really impressive. Apple's knocked it out of the park as far as I'm concerned.
Well, wonderful. That's what I needed to know.
You're going to be very happy.
Thing to do.
Has it come yet?
The thing to do is, it's first week of February.
Oh, so no wonder you're wanting.
I kept looking and saying, okay, yeah, it's going to get here real quick. And I said, all right, I'm going to go ahead and order it. Waited 2 more days, ordered it, and noticed, oh, crap. I don't know if there's like a...
They're making them...
They don't have any more in stock.
They're making them as fast as they can, but they're very popular.
Yeah.
They're very popular.
I missed 2 weeks, so it jumped out 2 weeks, waiting 2 days.
I think Brian, I think you'll be happy. And since you're in IT, it's, this is a worthwhile project for you just to see. I don't know, do you support people using Macs?
I do by default because on the team that I work on our hybrid cloud, I am the only one that works on a Mac.
Oh, you're the Mac guy.
I have issues.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I
made the mistake of it's like when people ask me what I do at church or anywhere else, I never tell them I'm in IT. I tell them I'm in healthcare. The minute I tell them,
I know.
The minute I say IT,
I know. I have a T-shirt that says, "No, I will not fix your computer."
Thank you. I have come home, and my wife. I walk in the house, and there is a computer or laptop or something else sitting on the dining room table, and I look at her.
The neighbors came over. They want you to. Oh yeah, I know that feeling. I know that feeling.
Oh my gosh,
Brian, have a great day. Enjoy it. You're gonna I think you're gonna be very impressed. And honestly, here's the advantage that Apple has because of this. They're designing everything: the hardware, the software, the operating system, and so they can design that chip to be optimized, for instance, optimized for JavaScript. And that means, they don't have to do stuff that a general purpose chip would have to do. That's huge. That's huge.
Well, hey, everybody. In fact, speaking of CES, Emmerich just wrote in the chat room, isn't showing new TVs on a website, virtual CES, kind of like when we saw TV ads for new TVs on our old TV and remarked how much better the TV in the ad looked? This definitely brings up one of the disadvantages of virtual CES, which is you can't see the TVs. You can't actually see them in action. Now, on the other side of that coin is the fact that when you go to an actual CES and you look at the TV that's in the booth, it rarely looks its best because it's not set up to look its best. It's set up to look as bright and as blue as possible, just like on a showroom floor. So you have to take what TVs look like, at least on the main show floor at CES, with a big grain of salt. If they're in, one of the hotel rooms, they can be set up better, and so you can actually see them. I have to say, regarding virtual CES, there are some things I'm really liking about it. And the main one is that I can watch a presentation either live or after the fact. That's one thing. I can go after press day on Monday starts at 4 a.m. Pacific time. I'm not going to get up at 4 a.m. and watch those things live, but they're going to be available on the website later, and I can watch them then. Even better, I can pause, I can go back, I can say, what'd that guy say? Which is especially important for those presentations from companies that the people don't speak very good English, and they have very thick accents. And if you're in a live situation at CES and you're trying to scribble down what they're saying and you go, what'd he say? I didn't understand what he said. I mean, I only get maybe 50% of what those people say. Now, on the plus side, they're usually talking about marketing statistics and how great their company is and how green their company is and so on and so forth. When it gets to the actual product, they usually have somebody with better English skills actually talking about the products, and so that's fine. But I'm really liking the ability to pause and go back and listen again. And what did he say? So that's really cool. And I'm also really digging that I can do it all from my office. At CES, there are events in the convention center, and the convention center is 2 million square feet. So one end to the other takes 10 minutes to walk at a healthy clip. I get some exercise, which is great. But then there are events at different hotels around town, and so you have to allow time to, if I'm in the South Hall and I usually park at the Westgate parking lot, I have to hoof it from the South Hall to the Westgate parking lot, get in my car, and then drive to a hotel on the Strip. And if it's the wrong time of day, the traffic is terrible. And then park, and then like at the Bellagio, it's another 15, 20-minute walk from wherever you park in the self-parking to the event in the Bellagio. You can valet, of course, but it's no longer free in Vegas, so I'm happy to be avoiding that. The biggest thing I miss, I have to tell you, at not going to CES is not seeing my friends face to face. I have a lot of friends in the industry after 30 years, and I really enjoy seeing them face to face the one time a year I get to. And I do miss that quite a bit. But I don't miss being exposed to all those bugs. I used to come home most years with the CES crud. And now, of course, the CES crud is coronavirus, and that would be really bad. Tim Elliott's asking, any idea how much of virtual CES will be available to the public? That's a good question. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I have been seeing some Twitter feeds from Flat Panels HD and a couple other places that are posting links to the Samsung event or the Sony event. So if you're following certain companies or publications on Twitter, you should be able to get access to some of them anyway. Mike B says, I remember in the late 90s when they were talking about HD TV and how they had to explain how you can't see the high definition on an SD TV. Yeah, exactly. Now they're talking about 8K. I just read just today, I think, or yesterday, that some 75% of current TV sales are 4K. And now we're ramping up to 8K. And the obvious question is, okay, then 16K, then 32K, where does it stop? Well, it doesn't. I wish it would, because we're already past the point of visual acuity. But, there are advantages of better processing, better diagonal lines, in particular narrow, shallow angle diagonal lines. The higher the resolution, the better those look. Let's see. Duluth Steve is asking, I realize Roku and Apple TV stream 4K HDR feeds to my 4K HDR TV. However, should we expect any difference in image quality between different content delivery brands? Possibly, yes. I was talking about this earlier, that Netflix has reduced their bitrate while increasing the efficiency of their codec, their compression. So they claim you shouldn't be able to see a difference. Can you? I don't know. This new Bravia Core is going to be streaming at 80 megabits per second. So that's going to probably look really, really good. As I said earlier, the more bandwidth you allot to a video stream, the better it's going to look, generally speaking. So yes, there could very well be differences between them. And Tokyo Jim, yes, I'm not going to pick up the crud by not attending this year, which is really great. Tokyo Tony, what do I use for lighting? I have an interview coming up this week on Zoom and want to have good lighting for it. I just got a lighting kit. I'm not using it here. I have an older lighting kit here, but I just got a lighting kit from Great Video Maker, GVM, which came with 3 LED lights on tripods, nice carrying case. It was like $350. Not cheap, not super cheap, but not really expensive either. Get the one that has white and yellow LEDs and a variable color temperature control and brightness control. Very nice. I use that on Zoom calls in the other room.
All right, Scott.
I highly recommend it.
Appreciate your time. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Thank you, sir. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number, 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you could still reach us, but you got to use Skype or something like that. Should still be toll free or cost you nothing. 8888 Ask Leo. Website has all the answers. Everything I talk about, thanks to James DeRuvo, our scribe. It's techguylabs.com. Jeff in Piedmont, California is next. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Leo.
Hi.
Good to talk to you.
Thanks for calling.
Hey, I'm a long time listener and a first time caller.
Welcome.
My question is, we have a group of 20 people, and we're using our messaging apps on our phone. We have Android and iPhone people, but there seems to be some sort of limit when we want to expand to more than 20. So I'm looking for an app that we could use for messaging primarily, and someone suggests WhatsApp, but I'm really against that because you have to give Facebook your address book.
Yeah, there's a big revolt against WhatsApp just happening this week because, and I think you can, Facebook certainly does, blame Apple because the new iOS 14 has these, they're like nutrition labels, they're privacy labels, and they require every company that offers an app on the iPhone to tell you in great detail what information they collect and what they do with it. And WhatsApp, I mean, it's not as bad as Facebook Messenger, but it's pretty bad. And it's part of the deal. They require that you hand that information, whatever information that WhatsApp collects, over to Facebook as well. So a lot of people are a little bit concerned about the privacy implications of WhatsApp. The good news is there are other choices. And this will be a little easier for you because it sounds like you can say to the group, okay, here's where we're going to be. It's a little harder with family and friends. You got to be where they want. You know, you can't just get all your family to say, "Okay, we're not going to use WhatsApp anymore." It is by far worldwide the number one messaging app by far and away, something like 80% market share. So I think a lot of people just say, "Hey, well, there's that's the deal." But I agree with you, and I don't use WhatsApp. In fact, I dislike Facebook so much I don't have any of their apps on my phone. I feel like they really do collect far too much information. I'm not comfortable with it. So what do you do instead? There are other apps. Functionality-wise, Telegram is a really nice choice. I would take a look at that. It's free. It's secure. You know, WhatsApp is secure. They keep information from everybody but Facebook. But a lot of people, Elon Musk posted last week, I don't use WhatsApp, I use Signal. Signal is absolutely private. It doesn't tie any information to your personal point. They do have groups, but it's not as functional. It doesn't have as many nice bells and whistles as WhatsApp does. Telegram does. So if absolute security of your messages isn't paramount, I think Telegram is a good alternative to all of this. Signal is what's most private, so just it depends on what your needs are. But Signal doesn't have all the functionality, all the fun stuff that Telegram or WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger have.
What about Google Hangouts? Would that be able to work?
Yeah, except my concern, I use Hangouts. In fact, I use that as my, because I use both iOS and Android, I use it as my kind of default messaging for SMS as well. But there's some concern about what the future holds for Hangouts. Google seems to be phasing it out. Google is very confusing as to their messaging future. You should also look at the privacy issues. It certainly doesn't hand information over to Facebook, but it does, because it's part of your Google account. It knows everything Google knows, and everything Hangouts knows Google knows. But I think Google Hangouts is great. I just don't know how much longer it'll be around, unfortunately. Their strategy is so confusing, and they have implied that they're phasing it out for chat, which is their other choice. So do other members of this group, have they expressed a preference or interest in this, or is it just you?
I was talking to another member, and she agreed with me about the privacy thing. So yeah, I'm going to try to get people to do. We're just doing the change now. So
yeah, as long as you can get everybody to do it, then you get to choose what you want. My opinion, Telegram, if you're looking for functionality, if you're looking for real privacy, Signal. Okay. Signal is the most private. If you look at its, Apple privacy label, it's like we don't share anything with anybody. We don't even know who you are, basically. The only thing I don't like about Signal is your persona is tied to tied to your phone number. They're working on fixing that in a bit, but for now it is. But that doesn't mean that they do anything with it. I think they're very, very secure and private.
Another idea was Line.
Yeah, well, Line is very, very popular in Japan. It is kind of the WhatsApp of Japan. There's WeChat in China, Line in Japan, and WhatsApp for the rest of the world. And then in the U.S., it's kind of a mishmash because, a lot of people use iMessage. I wish Apple would offer their messages platform on Android. I think that would solve a lot of these questions. Yeah. I don't think Line is particularly private. You'd have to, again, this is the nice thing. Anybody who uses iOS can see what the privacy policies are of this company in a very clear, easy way. You just go onto the App Store. You don't even have to be using it. You go to the App Store and look at it online on the web and see. It'll give you some idea. It's this is a very interesting question. And it's a lot harder for somebody with family and friends. If you have friends who are in Europe or Israel or Brazil, they're all using WhatsApp. And if you want to communicate with them, good luck getting them to move to Signal. But if you've got a group, that's different. Another one that's very popular with groups that you might look at is Discord. This is free. You can set up a server. You don't have to run it yourself. Discord will run it for you. And that's more like a chat room. So for a lot of groups, Discord is a really good choice because it's like a chat room. It's got apps available on iOS and Android. It's free. It was originally used mainly by gamers, but a lot of groups use it now, and it's another good way to go. And it's private as well.
Great. That sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, there's some choices anyway. I haven't narrowed it down much. I love Telegram. If I can get everybody I know to use Telegram, I wish it had become as popular, frankly, as WhatsApp. But for historical reasons, that's actually the reason Facebook bought them. Let's be honest. Let's be frank. Facebook, and by the way, they've been accused of this by the Federal Trade Commission, and 46 states are now going up against them and all that. And one of the big accusations is that Facebook, when they saw a threat from WhatsApp, bought them so that they wouldn't be a threat. Same thing with Instagram. As soon as they saw there was a threat to Facebook's total dominance, they just bought them. And nobody stopped them. No antitrust measures or anything. And so, that's kind of, WhatsApp was a huge success even before Facebook bought them. And now that Facebook bought them, Facebook gets so much information from Instagram, WhatsApp, and the Facebook Blue app, as they call it. I'm just very uncomfortable with that. I'm not a fan. 8888 Ask Leo's the phone number. Maybe you have a solution that you use that you'd like to share. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Johnny Jett, our travel guru, coming up. Frank's in Los Angeles, our next call of the day. Hello, Frank.
Hello, Leo.
Welcome.
An honor and a privilege.
Thank you.
So, a question about old cell phones. My parents, I tried teaching them how to use an Android. Didn't go very well. I started out as an iPhone, so I tried that as well. Didn't go very well either.
Oh, dear.
So we're trying to stick with the old flip phones.
Yeah.
But the issue is that the cell company doesn't like that. For whatever reason, they want them to switch over to smartphones.
Which cell company?
Verizon.
Huh. Do they not sell in the Verizon store anything that is I call them dumb phones, feature phones is what they call them. They don't sell anything like that? I mean, it may not be a flip phone. It might be a candy bar. They want you on a smartphone, huh?
Right. And to my understanding, the technology is such that it's not going to be able to support the dumb phones.
Well, it can. You know what? What they're saying is we want you on that's not true. They want you on LTE. They're moving everything over to LTE. But there are dumb phones that run on LTE. So maybe the phone your folks are using is not compatible with the future. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Let me go online and see. I'm looking at Verizon Wireless. Yeah, they offer the Kazuna eTalk. That's a flip phone. As long as the radios in the phone are LTE compatible, it should be fine. So I'm not sure who you're talking to. Let me just look at this Kazuna. I don't know anything about it. It's the eTalk from Kazuna. It's $80. It's a flip phone. It looks like I wonder. Yeah, I understand. For some people, these phones they're really little computers. And see, it's XLTE ready. That's what they want. They want you to be on LTE because then, they don't have to. They don't have to support these old towers that they're trying to decommission. Let me look at the user interface and make sure it's not like an Android device. Oh, it is. Look at that. It does have a keypad. It's a flip phone with a keypad, but I'm looking at it. I don't know. Look at it on Verizon.com. It might be something that'd be easy enough for your parents to use.
Are there real buttons or?
They're physical buttons, which is probably the big issue for them, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It looks like a flip phone. I wouldn't be surprised if it has some Android, software behind it, but because it's got a fairly big screen. But I bet you they'd be comfortable with it. I'd take a look at that.
I was also recommended a company called Alcatel as the manufacturer.
Yeah, it's a French telecom. They also make smartphones or dumb phones, but you got to go through Verizon. Is what I would do is go to Verizon. You can't go to a store. I guess you can. I've been in a Verizon store. So if you were willing to, you could go into the store, but you could also just do this online and just look. They have a section they call basic phones.
Okay.
And see what they've got. The Orbic Journey L, the Kyocera Dura 15 Extreme. They have, Sonim, Sonim. These are all physical flip phones with keys. Yeah, and they even have an Alcatel, the Go Flip 5. So, they sell them. They sell them. And I understand, there's no point in forcing your parents to use a smartphone. It is complicated. It really is. Now, my mom's 88 and loves her iPhone, but I've kept her on this smartphone platform for years, so she's kind of worked her way up to it. I think that there's some good choices over there. As long as it supports LTE and all of these that Verizon still sells, they're not gonna give you that pushback. They're just trying to get those old, towers, the CDMA towers out of commission.
Awesome.
Okay.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm glad we could help your folks. I honestly feel for people, young or old, who are faced with this kind of world of technology. And look, I know they want to use this stuff. They want to be comfortable with it. They'd love to have a smartphone and a computer and all that. But the truth is, it's overwhelming. It's hard to use. It's confusing. And that is not a reflection on your intelligence, your ability, even your modernity. It's just for some people, this is not where their head is. And I don't have any have any concerns or qualms about that. It is a little tough as the world moves in that direction. It's why I tell so many people to get iPads and Chromebooks, because these are much simpler devices that don't require kind of the depth of knowledge. And honestly, for people for whom a phone is still mostly a phone, why do you don't need a big old computer, these supercomputers we carry around in our pockets with GPS and fancy cameras, and you don't need all that. You're just using it as a phone, then I'd say save your money and use it as a phone. This eTalk looks pretty nice, the Kazuna. I've never heard of them. The Kyocera is expensive. It's $240, but it's like a rock thing. It's like you could throw that at somebody. The Alcatel flip phone, very basic. You know, they're a little more fancy than the old, candy bar phones, the old Nokias, the old Motorola flip phones. But that's okay. You know, that's the way to kind of ease yourself into it. You've got physical buttons. You've got a button on the screen that says contacts. You've got a button on the screen that says messages. It's even got a camera on some of these. No judgment. I like smartphones. I imagine most of the people listening to the show are, into all this stuff. And I'm sure it's a little difficult and saddening, perhaps even for people who just don't get it. I don't get it. There's a little genetic. There's a little thing. Some people just don't have that chromosome. 8888 Askley. We're going to talk about travel, such as it is. It's coming back slowly with Johnny Jett, our travel guru, in just a little bit. Website is techguylabs.com. And the phone number is 8888 Ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. He's our traveling man, Johnny Jett. He joins us each week to talk about travel as it slowly recovers from the global pandemic, and it is starting to slowly come back. Hello, Johnny.
Hello. Well, travel got a little bit of a bump over Christmas. 10 out of 14 days had over 1 million travelers going through U.S. checkpoints, but
that's
last
pretty
4
close
days,
to normal, right? 1 million?
No. Normal is 2.3, 2.5.
Okay.
The most ever is 2.9 million people going through
in one day.
And that was
Thanksgiving.
Sunday after Thanksgiving last year.
Yeah.
Or 2019.
Yeah.
But, and we're not going to see 1 million. I don't think we're going to see 1 million through security checkpoints until at least April or Easter. I'm not even sure when Easter is this year. Is it March or April? But, until these COVID numbers change, I think travel is going to take a hit. This is the week after January 1st or New Year's. It's usually called Dead Week anyway because it's such a slow week. It's always a great time to get good deals.
Supposed to be in Singapore today.
What?
We were going on a 3-week cruise from Singapore to Hong Kong.
Yep.
And boy, was I looking forward to that. But obviously, nobody's
my favorite
doing
places:
that.
Singapore, Hong Kong.
I know it was Vietnam. It was the Philippines. We were going to go see Palau, the beautiful east coast of the Philippines. I was very excited about it. But
and which ship was this?
That was a Silver Sea ship. No, Silver Sea. It was actually the same boat we went on our last cruise, and even the same stateroom. You know how that is when you're on a cruise. You say, "Gosh, I can't wait till our next one," and they get you. They say, "Well, if you book now." So we did.
Discount.
We did, and you get a discount. And then I even booked. I said, I like this room. I want the same room. So we had the same cabin. I was looking forward to like a reunion, but
did you get your money back?
Yeah, of course, 100%.
Okay, well, you're lucky because some cruise lines, especially Crystal, have not, and they've been taking a huge hit. So that was a big problem. But I'm glad that they give your money back. And let's hope that you can do that trip because those are some of the most amazing places in the world.
Oh, it might be a few years. But boy, I was really looking forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here right now, though, and that's not so good. I'm glad I'm here. Get to talk to you. Get to talk to our family.
I would be coming in from Hawaii right now.
Oh, yeah. This is your annual. Yeah.
But speaking of Hawaii, Kauai just changed their entry requirements again this week for the better. So before they were like you have to do at least 10 days quarantine. Now, if you go to another island for 3 days and then get tested again and it's a negative, you can go to Kauai. And they also have a hotel bubble with a few different hotels where you can quarantine. It's called a resort bubble. But you have to have your second test come back as a
That's
negative.
not a bad bubble, the resort bubble. I like that.
No, I mean, listen, Kauai is one of the most beautiful places.
I love Kauai. That's the last place I was in Hawaii last year. Yeah.
And speaking of getting tests, this week, LAX came out with a new COVID-19 testing lab on property that will give you results within 3 hours. And it's right next to Terminal 6. So it's between 3 and 5 hours. They have 2 other testing sites that will do it in 24 hours. But and they're all $125. You should make a reservation in advance. And again, you should not be traveling right now because of what's going on.
Well, didn't they say Californians can't go more than 120 miles from home? How is that? How's that being enforced, though? Are they really? I mean,
it's not being enforced.
Unfortunately,
it's not being enforced.
Encouraged.
So, but some people do have to travel. I mean, for work or for emergencies. So this is good to know. It's also good to know for future because, even a few months down the line, even 6 months from now, places are going to want to see a negative test or your vaccination, I'm sure.
Well, so that's the next question. I mean, not a lot of people have been vaccinated, but still, that's starting. So is that sufficient? Do you have do you carry a card or something? How do you know? How can you show it? And do airlines accept
They give you a card. They give you a card, but those could definitely be altered.
They could be
faked. They're trying to come up.
Right.
There's a couple apps where they're coming to, where they're going to have supposedly your health records showing that you've been vaccinated. But most destinations are going to require either a COVID-19 test or show your
proof of vaccination.
Even airlines. Qantas came out in November and said it. And actually, Qantas came out this week and said that they're going to start having bookings in July, which before they said October. But then the Australia government came back and said, listen, I wouldn't book your tickets to Australia right now because the government's like, we might not open up by then.
Yeah.
Plus, it's winter down there in July.
Yeah.
So I would hold off on your tickets to Australia, but this is a great time to be booking tickets for summer, for other places. As long as you read the fine print and you get your money back in full, there's nothing really to lose if you can get your money back or get a credit and you plan on traveling again. Because actually, the airline will not give you your money back unless the flight is canceled. But, some of the airlines have been, and cruises actually, in March, Carnival and other cruises said that, they're going to be sailing. Everyone knew they were not going to sail, but they were just trying to get money. And so some of them are not giving you your money back. They'll just let you do a future credit. So always read the fine print before. But if you think you're going to travel sometime, the fares are so low right now. And they're only going to go up. Also, in travel news, Canada, the UK, all requiring negative tests, COVID-19 tests. Canada, you still have to show, you have to show a COVID negative 19 test, and you have to still 14-day quarantine upon arrival. So the testing doesn't negate that.
Yeah.
Same thing with UK.
That's the problem. You could take a test and 2 seconds later get infected. Especially at an airport. I don't know what's going on in that airport. So a test is only as good as, the moment you take the test.
But for some happier news and for some planning purposes, I wrote a post this week on the U.S. national parks that you can visit for free this year in 2021. There's 6 days. January 18th, Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. You probably don't want to go then. It's a little early. But April 17th, April 4th, April 25th, September 25th, and November 11th. Those are all free days. So, these are days you might not want to go to because they're going to be the most crowded, but these are also days that you can save some money if you do want to go.
Right.
So keep that in mind. And also the big travel news this week also is the airlines have really cracked down on emotional support animals. So they're only allowing service animals. I think the airlines are different, but
I can't bring my emotional support turkey on the plane anymore.
Only dogs now. Only dogs.
Only dogs.
No peacocks.
No peacocks. No kitty cats.
Even the emotional support dogs, they can't. They can't go. You can't have a fake vest. You can't go online like you used to be able to. There were so many where anyone would give you a fake vest for a fee. You're gonna have to pay usually $125 each way, and have to make a reservation. And you have to upload your what's the word I'm looking for? Your doctors, your veterinarians.
Proof
letter saying that your animal is a
service animal. Yeah,
service animal.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that really kind of diminished the role of a real service animal by people bringing their chihuahuas and saying, "Well, I just get nervous without my chihuahua." It just didn't feel right. So I'm glad to hear them.
And they can't take the animal out of the crate if it is a emotional pet, because you can still bring it on board, but you have to pay for it. Which I'm not a big fan of.
Buy it a seat.
Buy it a seat, and you have to put it underneath your seat.
Johnny Jett does a newsletter that's
I'm a dog
free.
Lover, but
Johnny Jett. I'm saying, I'm plugging you, dude. Johnny Jett does a newsletter that's free at johnnyjett.com/newsletter. He also has a podcast at johnnyjett.com/podcast and a YouTube channel with 39 questions of many great travel writers. He's also on Instagram and Twitter, and he joins us every week to give us the latest travel news. I love it. Over the next few months, it's going to get better and better, I think. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you.
Safe travels to your kitchen for a sandwich. At least there's football on for the next 2 days.
You know what? I'm going to go watch some football right now. I think
Tommy John is fine. That was a mistake. Somebody.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yes.
Because I just looked at his Wikipedia page and it said he was still alive. And
yes, he's fine. He apparently has COVID-19, but he's alive.
Okay, good.
He's alive.
I'm like,
he's not pitching.
Normally, I'm wearing my Yankees cap.
Yeah, I know. What are you wearing now? What does that say? Southwest. Oh, that's nice.
Actually, I wasn't going to wear a hat, and then I looked in the camera, and I was like, oh my god, my hair is sticking right up. I just grabbed the.
Do you have the lights that they hold? And you could do that. You had a hat. You could do it. You just need a vest and some lights.
Right. Like the guy who was the ramp worker in Toronto that actually ended up. The video went viral, and Pepsi even made it into a commercial. He was dancing. They call him like the dancing.
That's so cool.
I don't even know what they call him.
You might as well enjoy it. You might as well enjoy it.
Whatever job you do, you got to enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
For sure.
I always love the videos of the traffic cops in Bermuda or Bahamas or somewhere where they're dancing and they're
Philippines, dancing. They're great.
I would do that if I were a traffic cop. I would do that. It makes people happy. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we try to do. Especially these days, we need to be happy.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hey. 8888. Ask Leo. Frank in New York. Hello, Frank.
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Hi. I had a question where I recently installed several security cameras, and I'm getting a weak Wi-Fi signal on a couple of them, the ones probably furthest from my router.
Yeah. Are they outside?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not merely the distance, it's also, the walls and the stuff in between them and the router. That's not unusual. I actually ended up putting access points closer to the cameras so that they would be able to, get a decent signal, because cameras use a lot of bandwidth. They need some speed.
I was wondering if I put in a Wi-Fi extender or possibly upgrade my router, would that help?
Yeah, a couple of things you can do. So right now you have a single Wi-Fi access point, your router?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons these mesh routing systems have become so popular, is because it's not just cameras. It's just, Wi-Fi is faced with a lot more challenges. The neighbor's Wi-Fi adds congestion. You've got more devices. I just counted the other day, I have almost 70 devices on my Wi-Fi network. All of that means that single Wi-Fi access point is working harder. Mesh systems will have a single base unit and then have units spread out kind of evenly throughout the house. You could put one, which is what I did, closer to the cameras and so forth. The mesh system is a little different than an extender. Extenders have been around for a long time. The drawback to extenders is it cuts your Wi-Fi bandwidth in half because the extender spends half the time talking to the camera, but the other half the time talking to the base station. So it is literally 1/2 the speed of your base station directly. That might be acceptable, and certainly extenders are less complicated and less expensive. But if you can afford it, I would look at a mesh system. Eero is my favorite. Orbi is also very good. In fact, Orbi now has a Wi-Fi 6 option if you want to go that way. You'd need to, I mean, I wouldn't yet, but that's a possibility. A lot of other companies make them. Google, Linksys has its Velop system. There are quite a few companies that make these, but I think Eero and Orbi are my two favorite right now.
Okay.
So what you do is you'd replace your existing router with the Eero, and then you would they call them beacons, the little extra ones. You just plug them in. It'll actually has an app that'll help you place them, but you plug them in so that it has a good signal from the base station, but it's going to extend it then to that point. And you probably would want one midway or even closer to your cameras. That will really make a big difference. And also, these systems do other things like prioritize. They do what's called quality of signal or quality of service, QoS. And if they see a camera streaming, they will automatically give that a little bit more priority, say over email or web surfing, that kind of thing. They do a lot of things behind the scenes. All of those are the positive. The drawback is it's more expensive. But if you go to the store and you look at routers, they're all more expensive these days. The $40 Linksys is a thing of the past, and frankly, not a thing I'd recommend anyway. Most of them are now $150 to $200. It's very common. If you want to look at ratings, I look at Wirecutter, thewirecutter.com. That's a site that was created by Brian Lamb of Gizmodo. It's now owned by the New York Times, but he did he realized people just want to know what the best is in any category. So they pick the best, and then they give you some runners up and things like that. So you go look at mesh systems at thewirecutter.com. I'm pretty sure they make Eero their first choice. It's certainly mine. Clayton in Denver. Hello, Clayton. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hello, Leo. Great show.
Thank you for hanging on. You've been on hold a long time. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. Say, I'm running QuickBooks 2016, and I did an update, MacOS 11.1, which is the Big Sur, and now my QuickBooks won't open. Was wondering if you had any ideas or have heard of any issues with the...
I don't know. One of the things that happened with Big Sur, it started with Catalina, when they said no more 32-bit applications. So if it were a 32-bit application, that would have been the beginning. Are you using QuickBooks Online, or is it the desktop version?
The desktop.
Okay. So that would have been the first kind of cliff, but you survived that, I take it. So now Big Sur, and Big Sur just has a lot more security involved. One of the things I don't like about QuickBooks is they basically want you to update every year. And it's my guess that because you have an older version of QuickBooks, that they're just not supporting Big Sur. So I would go to QuickBooks support. You might be able to see it online. They want you to go to QuickBooks 2020, I'm sure. But what I would do is look at the version that you have and see if it supports Big Sur. My guess is it doesn't. And that's honestly probably artificial. This is kind of their business model. Intuit's always done this. We want you to upgrade. And you've kind of skated for a few years, but I think they might have you. Let me see here. Mike B has found, in our chat room, he's found a link that says QuickBooks won't open after Big Sur. There may be some security settings you can modify. Let me just see what they say, QuickBooks does not fully support Big Sur. Oh, nice. We hope to fully support this new Mac OS in the next few weeks. So maybe there's an issue and they're working on it. I would look at the QuickBooks blog, which is quickbooks.intuit.com/blog, and keep up on what's going on. Again, my guess is they're just going to use this as a way to kind of push you to the latest version. That's kind of their business model. Unfortunately, I've seen this more and more. Adobe is the poster child for this. They effectively eliminated their, buy once perpetual licenses in favor of a subscription. Microsoft is starting to do that. You used to be able to buy Office. I guess you still can, but they really want you to subscribe. And in their defense, I have to say there's a good reason for that, because when you own an application, and QuickBooks is not cheap, but you bought it 5 years ago, they still have to, have a team working on it, fixing problems, looking for security issues, keeping it up to date, making it work with the new version of Mac OS or Windows. And that costs some money. There's they charge enough up front. Certainly they did for Office. It was hundreds and hundreds of dollars. But they would much prefer to have an annuity. So Microsoft, you can buy Office for $700, but you could subscribe for $8 a month, which is less, right? A lot less. But they just know we're going to have this steady income that's going to support our teams that are going to keep the thing up to date. And I feel like that's kind of what everybody's doing. But then there's this backhanded way of doing it. And a lot of companies still do this, where they don't technically sunset the old version. They don't make you update, but they aren't quick to fix problems. They kind of want you to update every year. And then TWiT is notorious for this. They want you to get the new version. So somebody's saying Zoho Books for Big Sur is Big Sur, or Zoho Books is Big Sur ready. I would keep an eye out. I'm sure Intuit will fix it. It probably has to do with security. There's lots of things software can't do anymore on Big Sur. That's probably a good thing. It's a much more secure version of Mac OS. And that's also probably why Intuit's dragging their feet, because they're hoping you'll upgrade to 2020. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls right after this. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers and the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, all that stuff. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 888-827-5536. Website where everything lives on after the show is techguylabs.com. That's free. There's no sign up. techguylabs.com. Jerry on the line from Hatfield, PA. Hello, Jerry.
Hi, Leo. Before I answer my quick two questions, I want to give kudos to Ken. Without even asking me, he recognized my voice, told me where I was from, and my question from last week.
That may mean that you've been calling too often, but okay.
Well,
she's good at that, though, isn't she?
Yeah, she's very good. My question is that after last week about the FCC changing the regulation where they can't charge you
yes.
providers for having their own equipment.
That's right. Did you call your satellite company and ask them?
I did. And they put me on hold for like 45 minutes.
Oh, man.
Then I had to talk to a senior resolution officer or whatever.
Oh, man.
And he's, no. They changed the term. They changed the wording. And you're charging me $7 a month for using my own equipment.
That's illegal.
Do you think I have any recourse in calling the FCC?
Yeah. That's illegal. They're not supposed to charge you for using your own equipment. I think the law was pretty darn specific. How did they? What little weaselly thing did they do to make them think they could do this?
That's right, weasel words.
Weasel words.
On the prior bill, I called them up. I could see it, and they said, "Yeah, we charge you for the use of your equipment." And then the law came out and they said, "Oh no, it's not for the use of your equipment. It's something else. It's a service."
Service fee, yeah. I would, or go to the local state utilities commission. I would definitely pursue it. They're figuring most people will just go, oh, fine, whatever. But I think that's the intent of the law is very clear. The fact that they change what they call it doesn't really change the fact of the matter, which is they're charging you for using your own equipment.
Another thing, how can I find out what cell providers offer call screening? I'm getting a lot of robocalls.
Oh, man, all of a sudden, I don't know what happened January 1st, but I'm getting so many spammy texts. It's driving me nuts. The big four are, in theory, supporting this new stir and shaken protocol. And that's supposedly going to reduce the number of spam calls because it requires a call be authenticated by the originating cell phone company and gives you the option, if it's not, to turn it down. And, of course, most spammers will not authenticate their phone calls. They'll try to use weird third-party services.
Right.
But I don't know. Maybe the FCC has a registry of carriers that support spam blocking?
Well, I use Straight Talk, and they use they buy service from AT&T or whatever, which may have that service. But
but often when you're using an MVNO, which is what that is, a mobile virtual network office. What's the O stand for? I can't remember. But you can't. But that doesn't mean you get all the features that AT&T offers, and that would be probably one that would, be left out. So FCC has a page, fcc.gov/call-blocking.
Okay.
And it talks about the mobile carriers. Straight Talk is not on this list. And how each one does it. AT&T, Google's Project Fi, Sprint, T-Mobile, U.S. Cellular, and Verizon are on this list. There are also some other resources, some solutions that come with the hardware. So Apple has a opt-in silence unknown callers. Google Pixel phones have a call screening feature. Samsung uses a service called Hiya to do smart calls to block unwanted calls. The FCC is the regulatory agency that's involved here, and they have been trying to eliminate this problem because it is a huge problem.
Right.
So I would at least start there. fcc.gov/call-blocking. We'll put that in the show notes too.
I will try that, and thank you. And I'll try not to call so much.
You call as much as you want. If you can get in, Jerry, you deserve to get on.
All right.
All right. Take care. I always remember Jerry because of the Hatfields and the McCoys, and I figure, I wonder if Hatfield, PA is where that famous feud started, the Hatfields and the McCoys. I don't know. But that's how I remember you anyway, Jerry. Steve in Los Angeles, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Steve. Come on over to the phone.
Hey, Leo.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you. First time calling, long time listener, and I have two quick questions.
Okay.
The first one, like you advertise remote PC.
Yes, sir.
My main PC shuts down periodically. It just powers down. You have to, press the button to get it back up again.
Right.
How do you get around something like that with remote PC? It won't start it up.
Yeah, no, it won't. But there is, in many PCs, a feature, you'll find it in your setup, what we used to call BIOS setup, called Wake on LAN or Wake on Network Activity. There's often in some PCs a setting that says a reboot on shutdown, like if power goes out, boot back up. So look into your BIOS settings. That's the only way you can do that. It has a little program that stays awake even when your computer is shut down.
Okay, I'll check that out.
Yeah.
And the second question is, I've always had a printer that was all in one with fax.
Yeah.
And actually I was one of your products that has ink tanks. Not
the EcoTank, the Epsons,
but it was a 4650 or something anyway. But the new tankless ones came out, and I bought one that says all-in-one, only it's almost all-in-one.
Yeah, faxes are one of those things people don't do as much as they used to, and I think some of the manufacturers have dumped that. So you got to look. There are still plenty of multi-function printers that have fax capability, but I think to keep the price down, in many cases, they just take that phone port off, and they don't include fax capability.
Okay, I like my 3750. And I know the 47, whatever, the next one up has it. Is there anything that you can do to, I mean, I don't fax, receive, or send often enough that I want to sign up.
There are software services. Your printer has a scanner in it. And that's halfway to a fax. You got to get a digital copy. And really, that's why they've included fax on a lot of these multifunction printers, because they just scan it, and now they've got a digital copy that they can send via fax. But there are services you can subscribe to that will let you take the digital copy you get from your scanner and send it as a fax. They'll even give you an inbound fax number. The best known is eFax, E-F-A-X. But unless you send a lot of faxes, it may not be economical.
That's kind of the concern.
Yeah, there are free services that have some limitations. FaxZero, for instance, .com, but they do have some limitations. They may have a watermark or an ad they place at the bottom. But the nice thing about FaxZero is it also has a pay-as-you-go feature, which is really what you want. You don't mind paying a couple of bucks if you send a fax once in a while. So that's what you should really look at. I would check that out, FaxZero.com. It's $2 per fax, basically.
Oh, okay. And the other one you recommended was eFax.
eFax is the best known, and I used to use that, but it was like $10 a month, and you have to send a lot of faxes, and more people don't care anymore. People use DocuSign and other systems that just keep it all digital, and the paper fax is rapidly on its way out, I think.
Oh, okay. I know that, like the doctor's office, I was trying to fax.
Yeah.
In a lot of places, they won't accept emails.
Yeah, and I think that's probably HIPAA. That's the privacy requirements and so forth. And real estate, you used to have to use a fax as if the physical signature on the fax was somehow useful to prove your that's crazy. Here's
I've had DocuSign and those kind of things, just click this box.
It's so much easier, and that actually is more, because the authentication is there. So it actually is better than a signature, a pen and paper signature. Wirecutter recommends HelloFax, and I haven't seen this one yet, but it says you can send high-quality faxes for free or a low flat rate, no monthly subscription. That's what you want. So take a look at HelloFax as well.
Okay, you gave me two good starters.
Yeah.
I really enjoy your show, and thanks a lot for the help. I know you got more people online.
No problem. Thanks for listening so much. I appreciate it. Coming up in just a little bit, Dick DeBartolo, our Giz Wiz, with his gadget of the day. And I'm going to take more of your calls. We've got time for a few more. 8888 Ask Leo. I am Leo Laporte, your tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Everybody get up. You don't have to get up. Have a seat. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Peter's on the line from Brooklyn, New York. Hello, Peter.
Hi, my friend. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Pretty good, buddy. Two quick questions, if I may.
Yes.
I heard you talking about the Orbi Wi-Fi 6. I have the Orbi Pro right now.
Yeah.
And I get between 150 to 250 down.
That's so nice.
And
yeah.
It is. I pay for a gig up and a gig down with Fios.
Yeah, but and you know this, but so you're getting a gig when you're wired, but you're never going to get what you're getting wired. But actually, if you're getting a gig wired, you should get 50% of that, I would think. Maybe the Orbi's doing some bandwidth shaping or something like that.
Do you think it would be a big upgrade if I was to
No.
Orbi 6?
No, because you have to have Wi-Fi 6 devices. So once you get kind of a critical mass of Wi-Fi 6 devices, your phone and your laptops, once they're Wi-Fi 6, and the new ones are, by the way, then maybe you should look at 6. Although 6E's coming. So
I should hold off.
I think it'd be worth waiting till 6E comes out and then do it. 6E will be out this year, and it uses 6 gigahertz as well as 5 and 2.4 gigahertz, and it is a good thing to have those extra bands. As you probably know, the higher frequencies like 5 and now 6 don't travel through walls very well. But in a way, that's a good thing because congestion is part of the reason Wi-Fi doesn't work very well. So having, especially with these mesh things where you're close to the router, I often will say use Wi-Fi 5 whenever, 5 gigahertz whenever possible. I know this is confusing because it's Wi-Fi 6, but it's 5 gigahertz. And it's Wi-Fi 6E, but it's 6 gigahertz, as well as 5 and 2.4. I think that helps in a lot of situations. It doesn't help with distance or going through walls. So, in fact, I put all my IoT devices on 2.4 gigahertz, and I reserve the 5 and eventually will reserve the 6 for computers and phones, things that really use the speed and need the speed. By having a whole new band means you can have more devices connected, you have less congestion, you're not going to have interference. So it might be worth waiting for 6E. The problem is, of course, you get none of this benefit unless you have devices that support it as well. So it's kind of a chicken and egg situation right now. I had the Orbi with Wi-Fi 6. It was about 10% faster. And it's supposed to do other things like beamforming and stuff like that. But honestly, it probably wasn't worth the added expense. And of course, you only get the benefit on Wi-Fi 6. Again, Wi-Fi 6 devices. The iPhone is Wi-Fi 6. The new Macintosh stuff is now Wi-Fi 6, and so forth. So I wouldn't rush. 250 is not bad. I'm surprised you're not getting, when you get right next to the Orbi, is it a little bit faster?
The main one, yes. I get 4, but that's max I've seen.
Yeah, 400's okay. 400's about right. It's not. It's 40 or 50% of the wired speed usually.
Speed.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I ask a second question?
Sure.
Leo, I'm trying to, let's say, create a video online, a video I took, and I want to distort the face. So if I publish it, I don't want people to know it, but maybe we can get the information. What is the best way without the most tedious, frame by frame, if I have to do it, or is it an easier way?
Actually, I think you can do it in YouTube. They have a blur option built into the YouTube video editor, believe it or not. So I'm going to put a link.
I tried looking.
Yeah. So
I tried it once. I didn't see the blur, though. I saw a YouTube video that was saying the same thing. I think it was YouTube Studio or Editor or something.
Yeah. But other things will do it, and many of them are smart enough to say, oh, where's the faces? Okay, we'll blur that entirely. What device are you on?
I'm using one of the new M1 Max.
Oh, nice. So there are a number of iOS apps that will do this on the iPhone or the iPad. So that's one thing to look at. There's something called Video Mosaic, for instance. It'll mosaic over people's faces and stuff like that. But that's iOS. I'm sure there's some Mac tools that will do this. I'll have to look and see, though. But yeah, they're smart enough to say, oh, there's the face. I'll just keep that blurred. You don't have to do it frame by frame. Let me see if I can... see if I can find something here. Oh, I guess iMovie will do it, too. How would I do that in iMovie? So there is apparently something in iMovie that will do that. Let me look here. It's one of the advanced tools. Oh, wow, this is really cool. So it actually will, you pick the face and you say blur this, and it will actually blur it in the entire video. With that, it's not a lot of manual work. Filmora video editor for Mac will also do that. So there you go. Blurminy. Yeah, YouTube Studio will do it, supposedly. I haven't done any of this, so I'm just going off what I've been told. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hey, Sugar Dumpling. Brad on the line from Cheyenne, Wyoming. Hello, Brad.
Hey, Leo. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling. What can I do for you?
I recently set my parents up with a new Windows PC and trying to make it as easy as possible for them. They're in their upper 80s. So what I did is establish a series of bookmarks for the websites that they will frequently visit.
Put that on the desktop. They just double-click it, and they're gone.
Exactly.
Nice.
Saved all the passwords and usernames and passwords in Edge so that when they click on a link, it will automatically log them into their email or eBay or whatever website they want to visit. Am I creating a security issue there?
Well, this is always, so this is the big security nightmare, which is if someone else has physical access to the machine. Just doing that by itself is fine because only your mom and dad can access that machine. Sometimes security experts call this the evil maid problem. It's one of the cybersecurity concerns in the Capitol building now because most of those machines the members of Congress left so quickly were left logged in. So there's this concern that people had access to these machines. If you have physical access, yes. Somebody could sit down, double-click on that link, it'll auto-log in, and they're in your parents' account. But does anybody have physical access to this? Are they in a nursing home, or are they at home? Or
No, they're not. They live at home alone, and I've also got the PC set up to fall asleep after 10 minutes of activity, which will require them to enter their Windows.
Oh, even better. And they know that. They can do that, no problem.
Yes.
That's actually a great solution. So that way it's not left unlocked. It locks itself if they wander away. So if there's somebody in the home, a plumber or a caretaker or whatever, they can't wander over and do stuff. That's the only thing you worry about. If you're saying, is it a security issue because somebody out there on the internet can do it? No, don't worry about that. Well, okay. As long as malware doesn't get on their system. The other thing I would suggest you do is not let them have an administrator account, but make their account a limited user account or a normal user account. That way, malware does not have the ability to install itself. And I think that's a very good idea. Are you able to get over there once in a while?
Yeah, I'm over there several times a week, and I've set the computer up where I'm the administrator, and I've got them set up as a guest user account.
Exactly the way to do it. And you're going to want to you want to make sure updates get added, because there's the worst security issue if somebody has physical access to it. Then the sky's the limit. But the next worst one is something we call permissions escalation, which is, if you have escalation of privileges, if some malware can get on there and make itself administrator, then you've got a problem as well. And occasionally there are flaws in Windows or some of the software they might be using that allow privilege escalation. That's why updates are so important. But as long as they're doing timely updates, almost always they will fix any issues like that crop up. They're probably not going to any of the sites except the ones you put on the desktop.
Correct.
Yeah, I think you're fine. Okay. They will get in trouble if they start wandering around the net. They can download malware, stuff like that. But even then, you've locked it down. I think this is a good solution.
Okay, how important is it to log off of a website that you've logged into?
Not necessary.
Okay.
Yeah. Nowadays, there used to be a bigger problem. There was a exploit called Firesheep that could be used in Wi-Fi, hotspots like coffee shops and so forth, that would allow you to snarf. As somebody logs into Facebook, what Facebook does is send a cookie that gives you login capability, so you don't have to log in every single time. And somebody would be able to grab that cookie as it flew through the air, now put it on their machine, and they don't have to log in. That cookie tells Facebook, oh, yeah, it's you again. Facebook, as soon as Firesheep came out, said, oi, and they started using HTTPS. And this is one of the reasons almost every site nowadays uses secure HTTP, because that cookie now is sent encrypted and can't be grabbed out of the air and saved to your hard drive. So Firesheep no longer works. That actually was a good thing that Firesheep came out, because it forced Facebook and almost every other site to start using secure HTTP. So you're fine. You know, that login cookie, again, requires somebody to have access to the machine, physical access to the machine, or some form of malware to get on there. And I think you've done everything you can to prevent malware. I'm not crazy about using Windows 10 for novice users, because there are so many ways you can get into trouble. But it sounds like they're on rails. They're kind of doing certain things and nothing else, and I think that's fine.
Perfect. Leo, thank you for the information.
Yeah, you've done a good job. That's a great... I used to do this, and I wonder, these tools might still be around. You used to be able to set up a kind of a menu shell for Windows. I used to do it in DOS, where you'd only get a few options. You know, the problem with all modern general-purpose operating systems, Mac, Windows, Linux, is they're too flexible. You can get into trouble because you can do anything. That's the whole point of a general purpose operating system. So these menu systems were nice because it kept users from doing anything but the few prescribed things. But as long as mom and dad stick to the icons that are on the desktop, no problem. I generally tell older people to, an iPad or a Chromebook is better, just because you can't get into as much trouble. But you've done a good job. And since you go over there a few times a week, I think you can keep them out of trouble. Brad, Cheyenne. Oh, that was Brad. Oh, that was it. That was my call. Now I hear music. Why do I hear music? Is there music on hold here? I picked up a line and I got music. Let me hang up on that. I probably should look. Windows menu systems. Actually, what you want is kiosk mode. That's another way of describing it. And you've experienced this. You go to the mall. Well, not lately, but in the old days, in the good old days, when you go to the mall, they might have a screen that you could touch, and it would show you, floor 1, floor 2, what stores. You could search for stores and stuff like that. Most of those systems are actually running on Windows in kiosk mode. And so that would be another thing to look for, is a kiosk mode for Windows 10. I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Yeah, you can even do it in Windows. Microsoft has a document. I'll put this, set up a single app kiosk, Windows 10 Pro, Enterprise, or Education. Yeah, that's of course where it would be most useful, is in education. So kiosk mode, that's another way to describe what I think you really want, which is something that's so simple they can't go off the rails and get into trouble. They can't start, as soon as if they're clicking on the start menu, or they're typing in URLs, or maybe here's where you really can get into trouble. They're doing email, and they get email from friends, or they think they're friends, and they click a link or they open an attachment. That's how you get in trouble. A lot of that is eliminated by not letting them be administrative users, because in almost every case, malware has to be an application that installs. And if you're not an administrator, you can't install software. So your mom and dad might click that attachment, but it'll say, "Oh, gee, you need to log in as an administrator to open this." And of course they aren't, and they can't. I think that's the best way to do it. My mom was still using Windows about 10, maybe 15 years ago. I had her set up on Windows 2000, and that's exactly what I did. and I made sure that she didn't have access to the administrator mode. That was a little tough because if she wanted to update her antivirus or wanted to install software, she couldn't do that. So, but that's where you have remote access. You can log in and do it for her. The GizWiz coming up in just a little bit with a gizmo or a gadget of the week. Don't forget the website, techguylabs.com. That's where everything we talk about is stored, even audio and video from the shows. You can even leave comments if you've got a better idea. techguylabs.com. It's a chance for Professor Laura, our musical director, to play some disco. She wasn't even born during the disco era.
When these were hits.
Yeah. But she's an old soul. She's got disco in her bones. And I don't think there's a cure. Dick DeBartolo is Mad Magazine's maddest writer. He is the guy who wrote so many of those wonderful parodies, movie parodies and commercial parodies. But he's also a gizmo wizard. That's why we call him our GizWiz. Each week he joins us to talk about a gizmo or gadget. We were just reminiscing 1 year ago. You and I were at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. Little knowing that would be pretty much it.
Exactly, yeah. I haven't flown since then, so it's been a year since I've been on an airplane. I know you made a trip.
A couple of, like in March, we went somewhere. But I feel like we dodged a bullet at CES. People from all over the world, including China, were there. We do know that at least one or two attendees had COVID-19, but somehow it did not spread to everybody who went. Imagine 180,000 people going back.
All of us come home and get sick for like 2 or 3 days afterwards.
I didn't, but almost everybody gets sick at CES. But yes, I was very cautious. Right. I'm always cautious. I didn't know about COVID-19, but I washed my hands all the time. I had hand sanitizer. You know, if we ever go again, I'm sure people will wear masks even. It's no fun getting sick.
It is not, especially with this.
Yeah. So you can't go to CES. Are you going to attend the virtual CES next week?
Well, I already started because, 4,500 companies putting up press releases. I must be getting 100 to 200 press releases a day.
Oh, my gosh.
So I did get one. I'd like to see your take on this. Okay. So CES 2021 has the Innovation Awards.
Yes.
All right?
Every year they do.
I got a press every year. Okay. So I got a press release about the 2021 nominees. And this one I thought was interesting, and I tried it and then thought it was not so interesting. Do you know about Typewise?
No. No, what is that?
It's a free app, okay? There's a Android version and an iOS version. So Typewise, when I first put it on my smartphone, I thought, I like this because...
it's a keyboard for your phone.
For your smartphone, exactly.
Okay.
And the layout is like a beehive. They are big keys in hex shape. And what I really liked is that there are space keys in the middle of the keyboard.
Oh, that's weird.
It was weird, but I liked it. I'm not really fast at texting. But then, as I started using it, I took the 15-minute test. There are things like, first of all, if you want an H, you hit the H. If you want the H to be capital, you hit the H, but push the H upward. And that makes the H a capital. Okay, so that was okay. But then when I got to things like one key is the question mark, the exclamation point, quotes open, quotes closed, all on one key.
Well, how does that work?
Badly, for me anyway. For me anyway. And then whatever key you're on, if you made a mistake, you swipe across from that key and it starts deleting the line that you're typing. Anyway, it said you can learn it in 15 minutes. Well, in 25 minutes, I learned this is not for me.
I'm not crazy about keyboards that force me to learn a new way to type. That's a big burden, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
However, they do, if you get bored with that, you can go back to a QWERTY keyboard. You can pick the size of the font you want on the keys. You can pick the color of the keys, but it will stay in that hex shape. If anybody watching wants to play with it, just go to typewise.app. It's TYPE. Oh, and another thing that they say security-wise is that everything is on your phone. Nothing goes back to them.
That's actually good. And when you install a keyboard on Android or iOS, it says, now warning, this keyboard can send back to the home office everything you type. That's a good thing to remember.
Yeah. And this one, it says everything is on your phone or wherever you installed it. Right. So that was good. And free was good, too. Yeah. But it was not for me. I think you're right. I remember what was it, the Good Guys keyboard that we saw at CES 10 years ago?
Oh, yeah. It was alphabetic.
It was A, B, C, D.
I remember I brought that to World News Now, to ABC, and showed it to Peter Jennings. He was all excited about it.
Oh, he liked it.
Didn't
he like it? Yeah,
I guess he wasn't a great typist.
No, it was the Hunt and Peck keyboard. Yeah. And I remember the guy at CES had floor-to-ceiling boxes, and I figured probably it was a bit. He figured, I got to give these away.
He still does. That's the one thing, you don't get the freebies if you don't go to CES. There's no way to send it to you via...
Or the food.
Or the food. We used to get good food at those events.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hanging out with you.
Pepcon.
Yeah, that was fun.
And meeting people. You'd run into Padre, run into...
Yeah, all our friends were all there.
All your friends, exactly. Yeah. I miss that, too.
I miss you. See, I haven't seen you in a year. If you go, but you know what? We get you via the radio show, and that's kind of nice.
No, this is great. Yeah. Being here every week is a real treat for me.
Yeah, me too. So here's what you do. If you want to see more about this without actually downloading it, Dick has it on his website, which is gizwiz.biz. That's GIZWIZ.biz. There, I got it. GIZWIZ.biz. Click the button that says the GizWiz visits the tech guy, but there's another button you might want to click that is the What the Heck Is It button. It's a chance to win an autographed copy of Mad Magazine. It's a brand new gadget of some kind. Actually, I might know what this is, but I'm not going to say anything. If you do know what it is, you're in the running for 6 copies of autographed copies of Mad Magazine. If you don't know what it is, but you create a clever, guess, you're in the running for up to 12 autographed copies of Mad Magazine. Play the game. You've got until the end of February, the What the Heck Is It game at gizwiz.biz. Gizwiz.tv is Dick's podcast he does with Chad Johnson. You also find all the stuff Dick shows on World News Now, and there's mad memorabilia and all sorts of stuff on his website. It's a lot of fun. Gizwiz.biz. How's the weather in New York City? Is the snow gone?
Cold, but no rain or snow in the forecast.
Okay.
I think today it's
kind of 31. Not too bad of a winter, right?
No, not so far. And Dennis loves snow, my spouse. We had 13 inches like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was perfect for both of us.
Did you do snow angels together?
I do snow devils. I did a snow angel, but when I looked at it, they were horns. I thought, what is going on? I got to go to church more.
Snow nose.
Somebody converted that.
The snow nose.
The snow nose. That's a good name for a book.
We don't have snow here, but I play this game on the Nintendo Switch called Animal Crossing, and it's been snowing there for a couple of months, and I'm getting sick of winter. And I thought, I'm in California, but I'm playing this game where it's snowing and wind is blowing. And
that's very funny.
Fortunately, I have a pretty warm coat to play the game.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And also today was fun because they have Mulch Fest.
Mulch Fest?
Today. Mulch Fest. You bring your Christmas tree.
Oh.
And they have huge machines.
Oh, that's great.
And they run it through, and you can bring a shopping bag.
They give you a bag of mulch to take home?
They'll give you and then in December, it's really hard to reassemble it. But it takes up so
much space. It's much more compact.
To store it. Oh, it's like a little shoebox.
Gizwiz.biz. That's the crazy man at Dick DeBartolo. Thank you, Dickie D.
Thanks, buddy.
Have a great week. We'll talk next week. Pretend you're at CES this week. Thanks to Lady Laura, Professor Laura, our musical director. Good job today, Professor. To Kim Schaffer, our phone angel. Most of all, thanks to you for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope you're staying safe, staying warm. Have a great Geek Week. We'll see you next time. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWiT, TWiT. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.